in high school, I said I wanted to do a travel show. So like my friends laugh because they're like, "That's so funny that you went on to do it." But I actually started working as a teenager, and when I was 16, I was working at Time Warner Cable in South Carolina, and I was a contract camera person, and I was filming government meetings and a local talk show. So I started working in the business a long time. I mean, when I was younger, I knew I wanted to be in the creative field, and I had a video camera when I was a kid, and I used to make people do movies and shows in my neighborhood. So I was a director before, back in the day.
Where do you find a family of communities connected by the storied Mississippi River, where young explorers and dreamers, investors and entrepreneurs thrive? Where can you connect with real people living and creating in a place that's as genuine as it is quirky? QC. That's where.
Welcome to QC That's Where. I'm Katrina, your host, and I'm so excited to have Darley Newman with Travels with Darley on today. Darley is a producer, entrepreneur, and a content creator who's actually been in the Quad Cities before. She travels internationally for her show on PBS and Amazon Prime. And so, Darley, hi, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Katrina, for having me.
I'm pumped to talk to you. We were talking a little bit before we started recording the podcast because you're just bringing in a whole new perspective from your background as a traveler, a content creator, a visitor to many, many places. And so right now, I just want to maybe kick it over to you to talk a little bit about what Travels with Darley is and its origin story.
So it's so funny because I now tell people that I do a public service. And that sounds weird, but I believe that telling stories and getting people to know more about places that they can discover and the people that live on this planet is so valuable because it connects us more. And I feel like the more we know about each other and the more we know about different places, the better people we are. So this is what I truly believe because as we travel, I've been traveling the world now actually since 2007. I started another series called Equitrekking, the world's first horseback riding travel series, where I went horseback riding around the world for many years. I wrote a book about it, created a brand out of it, and syndicated that show all over the world. It was on PBS, and then it was on to Tokyo and France. And it was interesting because people were like, "Is it a horse show?" And I said, "No, it's a show about people. It is a show about our planet and animals, but it's all about how we're connected and how we've been connected over time." And I think that people can really start to learn more about that through storytelling. So in 2016, I actually launched Travels with Darley. I had started it as a short series in the early days of video shorts. So I had it syndicated out on Huffington Post and AOL as short videos. And then I was like, I want to make these into longer stories. I mean, as you know, in the content world, we've seen this evolution of we're watching long things, short things, super short things. We're on social. It's been a very interesting evolution. But I've been kind of riding that wave with Travels with Darley. We have 85 half hours on PBS stations across the nation. They're on platforms like Amazon Prime, on Tubi, on Samsung, on Plex. You can find the series on my YouTube. You can listen to the podcast version on iHeart. So it's really evolved over time because there are so many platforms and the media landscape's evolved. But the heart of it all has been meeting people in different places, telling great stories, and showing people how they can be inspired by what's going on in different communities. And we are in a new season now that comes out next year, actually. So we're getting close to 100 episodes with all the content we're producing, 100 half hours. And there's so much more that we do on different platforms as well. But I really love it. And we were so excited that we got to come down the Great River Road for an episode and visit you all in the Quad Cities. And that's just one example of how we will road trip through a place and look to find the history, the culture, the food, what makes those destinations tick.
So you mentioned the Great River Road. So that was kind of how we got acquainted a little over a year ago. You were working with the Illinois Office of Tourism and you made that trek. So did you have any like standout moments on the Great River Road? Shout out Quad Cities as well. I know you visited the Arsenal and Lagos. So yeah, what stuck out to you there?
So south of you, we went to these tree houses that you can stay in, and the guy built them all by hand, which I thought was super cool. Um, there's windmills. There's things you wouldn't expect. There's presidential history. The Great River Road is really it's a gem. It's such a diverse trek. I went goat trekking up in Galena, which was unexpected. When I was with you all in the Quad Cities, I was having ice cream at Lago Marcinos, and I thought, wow, this is so cool. This another great example of stepping back in time at a family-owned business. It was fourth generation, and they're making this amazing chocolate. And I don't know, I love those places where it's unexpected. We went to Rock Island Arsenal, which was also unexpected. I learned so much about the role that it had in major, the Civil War and other world wars. And that was really fascinating because and why it was located there in this central location. And we've got the Mississippi River. So it was really a fascinating dive into Illinois, but also a microcosm of what makes traveling throughout America so cool because you're finding things from all over the world right in your own backyard.
It was so special to have you here with us for, I mean, it was a short time and a little preview to what's coming. Darley will be with us for our annual event on November 13th. So we'll be excited to have you back in the community with us again. But it was so great to have you because, like I said before, you brought in a different perspective. This is what you do. And so for you to be able to highlight the things that you can share, tell the story, and really just amplify was really great for us. And we were able to share your reel that you made from the Arsenal and the snippets from the Great River Road. So we're just so proud to be part of that cluster of communities. How interesting is it before you probably even talk to somebody? You're visiting a community, whether it's Midwest, Southeast, internationally, everything from the buildings to how the infrastructure is and the markets, like tells a little story, gives a little glimpse of just what the people there value. I mean, what are your thoughts on just taking all that in without even having, had a conversation yet?
It's interesting because every place is so different, and I think that's what makes it a good show and a good topic in general. I often say it's a travel show, but it's not a travel show because again, it's about people and communities and places. But when I go into different places, it is really people open up to us. We're just a small team, everybody, there's four of us that travel together. My photographer, Greg Barna, is awesome. He's about to be honored with the Silver Circle Emmy Award in Pasadena, Los Angeles for the daytime Emmys coming up. For his lifetime of work, which the last 15 years has been on my shows. So
That's so
I'm very,
exciting.
we're
Congratulations to him.
He's amazing. But all of us really do care. I mean, that's the thing. And I think when people meet us, they do open up about their lives and what they value. And you see that in the places where we talk to them. Because, for instance, in the area where we were looking at the windmills, and we have this woman who was a docent, and she's taking such great pride in the fact that they're keeping everything so intact. They're working windmills that you can visit on the Great River Road. And I was thinking, I love this that people have this value of preservation and holding on to the past, but sharing it in a way that is welcoming to people who visit and are like, why is this here? And they tell the whole story. So I thought things like that are really great. But it's also when you meet local small business owners, there's artisans that we meet along our travels, hat makers and belt makers, and and jewelry designers and people that own really great restaurants. And they're all sharing something through their art, through their food. And that really tells you that they care. And I think that's something that's really special about getting to share these stories. It just connects us further. And I think that's really important, especially nowadays.
So, when you're with us in November as a speaker at our annual event, we are definitely going to hone in on the power of storytelling. We see you as just one of the greatest minds in that field, and it's something that we want you to be able to help us push to people who maybe don't storytell for a living, but we're all storytellers in some sense because we all have a story to tell.
It's true. And I actually love that about what's happening with social media now and with content creation. I talk to a lot of people who are trying to start something new. They have an idea for a business. And I always say, if you have a passion for something, you should, if you want to pursue it as a business, then you definitely should. Because, and it could be anything that you think of. It doesn't have to be something mainstream. In fact, it's probably better if it's not. As we've seen people blowing up with their stuff on TikTok that are or Instagram that are they're making a craft or they're doing something that you would never think would be popular. And the beauty of it is when you have a passion and you convey that, it becomes interesting to other people because they see that it resonates through. So I do think that storytelling is so important, but that anybody can share their story because when it is done with authenticity and it's done from the heart, that's when it resonates with people and they may say, I didn't think I was interested in that, but now I am. And I think that's the beauty of it. And there's so many ways to tell a story, and there's so many ways to be creative about it as well that people don't often think about. But there are little exercises that a lot of people can do to kind of step out of their own comfort zone and realize that, all of us, whether we like it or not, if you're doing something, it's your brand in a way now. You are a brand. What you're doing is a brand. You're representing a brand. And maybe you do or don't like that word, but it's true. It's a way that we convey information. And I think if you're authentic about it, that is what resonates.
So you started out, short form video and blossomed from there. I mean, obviously by choice, but probably also a little bit out of like necessity because the more years go by, the more platforms erupt and we have to use them and adapt and figure them out. So, how have you kind of managed being a little bit of everywhere for everybody? And do you have a favorite way to tell your stories?
It is hard to manage because there are so many platforms and it's constantly evolving. I always say that and think that you should go where your audience is. So you don't have to be everywhere. If you find that you have an audience on YouTube or that your website or your newsletter or your Substack is doing well, then you might want to hone in on that. But I do believe that it's fun to look at the platform that resonates and then how you manage that. I really love doing reels. I don't know. I actually like love them. I like that it's short and in a minute or maybe a little bit more or less, you can tell pretty good story. And I think it's a good exercise for people too. Often when I'm going to interview people for longer interviews now, I have them do my social media first. I'm like, I want you to tell me about your place or location and try to keep it 30 seconds to a minute. And you'll be surprised at how much of a great concise story you can get with that. A lot of people are really good at it now too. You'd also be surprised. You think, oh, people don't get nervous. They like the phones. And I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great way to convey something. And I love layering. I layer video on my reels. I think I use a program called InShot that I really like. It's outside of the platforms of your endemic platform of Instagram or something like that. But it's a great tool because I try to make even my short reels, I try to make them really captivating. And I think people like to see visuals. So I really love doing that. And I do like telling longer stories. I'm working on my podcast now too, like this one. And I'm doing audio only podcasts to differentiate from the show. And I found that to be really a fun challenge because you have to describe things more. And I also believe that it's great to have these different audio, video, short form, long form. People want things in different ways. People digest things in different ways. And people might have different challenges where maybe they just can listen to it. Maybe they just want to see it. Whatever it is, if you present it in different ways, it really helps reach a lot more people.
I think that speaks too to, the longevity of like what you're doing and how you've been able to and how brands have been able to stay relevant and, keep up because even like myself, I think back to 10 years ago, the way I consume content now is vastly different for no other reason other than like my lifestyle has changed a lot. Like I have two little kids now, so podcasts are right up my alley because I don't really have a lot of time and just the bandwidth to sit and watch something, but I can listen while I clean or play with somebody all day long. And 10 years ago I might have opted for that sit down with my laptop and really watch something. So it's really great. I mean, there's benefits too. It can be hard to manage, but there's benefits to being a little bit everywhere. And like you said, it's great to see that just people have naturally kind of figured it out too. The phone isn't as scary as like a big old camera. And so it's nice that we can get more people into the sphere just because the technology is changing.
I think it's great. Yeah. And I think however people want to digest something, a lot of people are listening to podcasts on YouTube now. I think that's also great. And people are maybe they're not even watching the video, they're just listening to it, but they have it streaming. So either, however people want to consume things, as long as I think the information gets out there and they can learn, I think that's great.
So you started like traveling and doing the shorts 2007. Now, did everything start and just blossom in 2007, or did you have any kind of like inkling of travel prior?
Oh no, I mean, I want in high school I said I wanted to do a travel show. So I like my friends laugh because they're like, that's so funny that you went on to do it. But I actually started working as a teenager. And when I was 16, I was working at Time Warner Cable in South Carolina, and I was a contract camera person, and I was filming government meetings and a local talk show. So I started working in the business a long time. I mean, when I was younger, I knew I wanted to be in the creative field, and I had a video camera when I was a kid, and I used to make people do movies and shows in my neighborhood. So I was a director before back in the day. But I went on to work in, radio and television, and I worked at CBS and on Frontline documentaries and talk radio news service. So I really did all aspects of production, which is why I feel, it's been so helpful in running my own company because I actually like a lot of people watch my show and they don't understand that I actually I host the shows, but I write them, I produce them, and I am the one who's like helping figure out where we're going next and actually leading the team. So it's a lot to do, but I feel like starting out and getting to do things from the ground up, I learned a lot. And I talk to a lot of people who again are starting something new and I say, well, maybe you want to go work in the similar field or figure out how other people are doing things and get ideas and get experience things you didn't think you'd want to do. You might find that you like them or you might find that you hate them, but you need to know that information. So
How do you even make the decision to decide, okay, I'm going to X, Y, and Z places, and then we gotta move on through?
it's interesting because I loved being in your area because we made a last minute decision to go to Lago Marcinos. Like no, it wasn't on our list. We didn't have it in our purview, but we heard about it the day before, I think. And we said, oh my gosh, we have to go there because not only are we all on our team big ice cream lovers, but we also just love the story of the multiple generations. So sometimes things just come up naturally. We obviously do research and we want to try to get the heartbeat of a place and the people, and we don't want to miss something that people will watch and say, oh, they should have gone there. But often we do have to pick and choose because we just don't have a lot of time when we're traveling. And we try to cover a lot of things so that people watch the show and they get a sense of it, but then they say, oh, that's something that I didn't know about. Maybe I want to go there on my next trip, which is great because we found that people actually are following the itineraries and looking at the shows and listening to the podcast too and going to those locations, which I think is awesome. And we have, seen that over many years. And I think it opens up people's, minds and hearts to things they just didn't know existed in the US and around the world. So we really do look for hidden gems, though, and again, places that are unexpected. So my producing team with Evelyn and Janice as well, who works with me, we're always looking and saying, okay, what should we cover? What do we not want to miss? And then what are the hidden gems that would really shine through and might be unusual? Because those unusual places often stand out too. Again, like the tree houses that this man has hand built in the woods that you can go and stay in. I thought that was so cool. So we try to look for those things and the goat trucking that would be unexpected.
It's so interesting. Your process, it has to be so organized. And yet I'm hearing like a reflective element of just like an average traveler because you go in with a plan, you know a handful of things you want to do, But then the best moments are when you go in with a little bit of an open heart and not everything planned out to a T. And then you can just kind of listen and absorb and then hear about those great things that maybe just didn't pop up on Google or somebody, who recommended the place initially, like just didn't share for whatever reason.
That's the beauty of travel. I often say that I think you should research a place if you're going there, and you should have an itinerary, but you should also leave time to explore because there are things that will resonate with you that someone else didn't have on their list or didn't resonate with them. So I think discovery is a great aspect of travel, and it really is exciting when you think about yourself as an explorer in a sense. And I don't love the word tourist. I try not to use it. I like traveler, and I like to think of us all as explorers and people discovering new things.
I love that. And the more you explore or travel and just get to see different people in different elements, I mean, the more you can build on your own dreams, the more you see what's out there that maybe you hadn't thought of before. And I like to think, dreams can build like the tourism business because if we get people to just it starts with a visit, right? And so if we get someone to come and visit, maybe they'll want to come and visit again, or maybe they'll want to come and see if they want to live here. And so inspiring people to just, build their dreams, build upon what they think they want for their life and just be open to it. That's what we're all about. And we want to help usher that, through. Thinking about all of your travels, okay, 2007, beyond, whatever, do you have like a favorite moment, either from the show or just personally, that you draw back to from time to time?
I have a ton, honestly. Again, we've been so many places, and I always tell people that I loved Botswana, Africa was one of my favorite locations because I was just so amazed by the wildlife. It was so exciting I went horseback riding on different safaris. There was an elephant that did a mock charge while I was on horseback, which was scary. It was crazy. And we have just like really amazing, the best stargazing I've ever seen out on one of the world's largest salt pans there in Botswana, Africa. But when we were finishing COVID, when we were at the tail end of COVID, the vaccine had, come out already. We were hitting the road to travel, but it was still quite difficult. I got to film along the Civil Rights Trail in Alabama, and I interviewed women who had lived through the movement as children. So these are amazing women. I had a protege of Rosa Parks who grew up sleeping on her couch in her house, which is now a national park site. And I had Joanne Bland on camera and interviewed her at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. And she was in the Selma to Montgomery March as a child and had a lot of challenges to face with that. And her story is heart-wrenching. And it really affected me. But again, I think there's power to hearing someone's story, and the authenticity comes when they tell it. So those things have all resonated with me, and it's kind of why I've continued to do what I do, amid all the changes in the industry and the need to evolve and innovate, and which is definitely there all the time. I really think it's special when you get to hear from someone who's lived through history and has firsthand information.
I got chills when you were talking about that. I mean, that's got to be a highlight of your career, but also just like as a human being able to be the person to help push that story out to the masses and let people hear what they had to say about, living through that time and just, how they persevered. Those are some things that it's got to be a little bit tough to stumble upon when you're doing your work. But you have to pair those real moments and these really like great learning experiences with then the fun highlights and everything. So there's so much that's encompassed with your job, and I'm just like absolutely fascinated. And another thing I've been wanting to know is like what makes you want to go back to a place?
Oh, so that's a great question because I've done a number of productions in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's a place that I really love. I've had some I seriously have had transformative experiences there. I tell people they need to visit because it is a place that the landscapes, the history, the food, there's so much there. There's so many rich textures. But I did this Equus experience there, which is communing with horses when horses are just on the ground. And I'm a big horse person. So I went into it, I was skeptical because I was like, I've done so much with horses, a lot of times horse whispering. I don't believe it's going to work, or it's going to be a hoax or something. And I sat there with these horses that day and I was like tearing up as I left and felt like I had learned so much. It was an unbelievable experience. And so I think, again, those kind of experiences, it's all about experiences. Experiences make you want to go back to a place. People make you want to go back to a place. But I love that so many destinations and so many people are offering experiences now. I'm the kind of person who doesn't love like things. I don't collect a lot. I could have filled my house with so many things as I've traveled all around the world, but I don't because I don't necessarily value those things as much as I value the time, the experiences, the connection, and what it is when you have something that is a special experience. I was just in Alabama and I did a painting class with this woman who has her own art studio and she does workshops on saris. So, what is a sari? And she's collected all these saris from her family's history. And you really learn so much. I'm not good at painting at all, but just sitting there and the meditative aspects of doing that, but then getting to chat with her while I did it, I felt again like it was another really interesting experience of learning about culture and someone's personal history that teaches you a lot about their past, where they came from, and the area where they live in now. So I think those experiences are really valuable.
I love that. You're a collector of experiences. I think that's fantastic. It's something that you can like hang your hat on and not have to worry about putting in storage, right? You can just have the memories and the photos and share those, and I think that's wonderful. One thing that you touched on was the kind of sitting and experiencing the making of something with somebody and kind of the backstory. So like the state of Illinois has the Illinois Made Makers program where, communities throughout the state can nominate their local makers. And the Quad Cities has a handful we're so proud of. Dots Pots being one, Navarro Canoe, Bo Cheese Mustard. And so those are like places that you can go, you can buy things obviously, but the makers are right there. And you can actually interface with them and like Dot's a wonderful lady. She's done photos and videos with us and told us about her store. And, the Bo Cheese Mustard family, they have a gift shop when you go in. You can kind of see the awards they've won through the years. And talk with them and bring home a jar of mustard if you want to. And so it's really cool that like in our own communities, Quad Cities I can speak for, but in all these communities, there are these people who have the interest and the the gusto, I guess, if you will, to like make something and tell you about it and let you do it with them. I love that.
I think it's great, but a lot of people are searching for those experiences now when they travel. I mean, travelers want to have interesting experiences. They do. So I think that it's something that a lot of communities and people are offering up that is so beneficial for everybody. And again, it makes people want to go to those places that they didn't think that might be a place that doesn't maybe have as much going on, but they have these cool experiences. So then you want to go and visit. I think it's really special.
Well, we're so excited to have you back in the Quad Cities coming soon. So, November 13th at our annual event, it's called Destination QC. You will be a speaker. We're going to highlight, the power of storytelling, quality of life and place, and just how that all comes into play together. Storytelling is just really the crux of the tourism industry, and it's the crux of a community because that's how you start to build that emotional connection with people. And I think that's what inspires people to make a decision. Yes, I want to go there. I want to live there. I want to explore their experience there. So we're pumped to have you come. Do you have any like items on your list when you come here that you want to do this time?
Well, I actually want to do the full walk over the bridge because I didn't do that last time because I didn't have time and it was very hot that day.
Yeah.
So when I come back in the fall, I think it's going to be really nice. So
Oh, it's gonna be
look
great.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I love getting on my own 2 feet and exploring. So if I were back down by Lago Marcinos, for instance, I kind of wanted to walk more around that area and just see what I spotted. So I think there's going to be a lot, and if I can meet some more entrepreneurs and small businesses, I love that. And of course, the food, because people are traveling for food 100%. And the food scene everywhere has gotten much more diverse and interesting as I've been traveling for the past few years. And I love that. So, trying something that's truly local will definitely be on my list.
We will definitely hook you up with some Quad City style pizza while you're in town, and
Ooh.
you can add that to your list. So, I will have you at this point now, Darley, fill in the blank. QC, that's where.
You get really good ice cream.
That's so true. And you experienced Lago Marcinos. We've also got country style and Whitey's, like fan favorites. People travel far and wide to come to these joints. So
I love that. Well, and I was going to say, you should ask me again after this visit because I probably will have something completely different. But from what I've seen so far, it's from even corresponding with you, it seems like it's very community centric, which I think is awesome. Because when communities come together, it really just helps everybody rise and grow and feel connected.
I love that. Yes. Rising tides rise all ships sentiment, yet 100%. And that's definitely the Quad Cities feel too. Everybody, there's room for everybody and everybody like helps lift each other and help each other out. And so I'm very blessed to live here. We're so excited to have you back here. And before I let you go, where can people find your content, watch you, and interact with you?
Yeah, so you can look for Travels with Darley on your local PBS station. We have a YouTube. We're on Amazon Prime Tubi. The podcast is on iHeart and Spotify, Apple, all those places, all called Travels with Darley. And you can follow me on social at Darley Newman and Facebook Travels with Darley.
Looking forward to having you back, Darley. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to QC, That's Where, a podcast powered by Visit Quad Cities. Text Visit QC to 38314 for insider events, activities, and updates sent straight to your phone. That's VISITQC, one word, to 38314. Message and data rates may apply.